There's so much information available on the internet that sometimes it can be hard for people to interpret everything that they get. I'm a firm believer in spending all the time that's necessary in order for patients and their families to fully understand what's going on to make a good decision.
Hi, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Tuesday, October the 24th. Let's start in Washington. Donald Trump was going to have lunch today with members of the U.S. Senate, the Republican side of the U.S. Senate, that is, and Bob Corker, the senator from Tennessee, who's going to be leaving at the end of this term, probably didn't help the president's indigestion very much by talking about the number of untruths the president tells and how he's debasing the United States. Other Republicans are not ready to stand up and talk about Donald Trump in this way. They want to pass a tax reform bill, or at least cut taxes for somebody, and so they're staying silent. Trump is not too happy. He tweeted back in his normal fashion against Corker and said some ugly things about him. Speaking of Donald Trump and ugly things, you know, he said it's disrespectful for NFL football players to take a knee during the national anthem. He's continuing his attack on the widow of a man killed in action in Africa, a widow, and says she's a liar, speaking of respect for the military. And also this from the national Republican political scene. Roy Moore, the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate from Alabama, has said that the decision on the same-sex marriage case by the U.S. Supreme Court was worse than the decision that legalized slavery. Yes, same-sex marriage is worse than slavery to Roy Moore, and as of yet, not a single Republican has stood up to say they disagree with him. That's kind of where our politics are today. Back home in Arkansas, a 24-year-old man was found shot to death outside a home at 16th and Woodrow this morning, the 48th homicide of the year. They're searching for a 38-year-old woman as a suspect in the shooting. You might go to arkansasblog.com today and take a look at a couple of videos we posted compiled by a blogger in Little Rock, Russ Raycop. It's about the night the Little Rock police responded to a shots fired call at an apartment, and Benny Johnson, a civic activist who's fought against crime in the city, was seen in a window talking on a cell phone. Police thought he was holding a gun. He was lucky to survive the incident. He says this is a sign of poor community policing by the Little Rock police. It's an interesting video to hear what the police said and the time after that shooting almost turned terribly bad. The Dental Association of Arkansas is not happy with Governor Asa Hutchinson that he didn't follow their recommendation for a pick for the Dental Examiners Board, and he picked somebody who some 24 years ago had a number of disciplinary run-ins with the board. It's unusual for a group association to criticize a governor because sometimes those things can come back to bite you, but this happened in this one case. The governor seems to think he's appointed somebody who's well qualified for the job. Look for this to develop into a debate. I've learned today that the University of Arkansas Board of Trustees can consider its next meeting next month a change in tenure policy. Some law professors think the tenure policy will not be good for the faculty, that it'll be easier to fire someone, particularly if they're viewed as uncollegial. You know, sometimes faculty members don't get along with other faculty members, and this perhaps gives a way for the University of Arkansas to get rid of them. There's some debate rising on the faculty senates about this matter. Senator Trent Garner, I tried to avoid this topic, but the Democrat Gazette wrote about it this morning. It's unbelievable, really. He's one of the most unpleasant members of the state Senate and always has an issue to demagogue. His latest is he's copying a bill that was passed in Texas. It's called a sermon protection bill, that you can't seek information from a preacher about a sermon they preach, what this is about. And Trent Garner, to his credit, I think, or discredit, admits this is just about protecting preachers who want to preach against the evils of homosexuality. There's no chance the government can do anything about this. Preachers are free to preach hate as much as they want to do without any repercussions from the state, but this is just a play to that part of the base in Arkansas, which unfortunately is pretty large in terms of gay bias. So that's something to look forward to, if that's the word, in 2019. News from the publishing world. I say this with no great happiness because we struggle, as all publications do, in the disrupted world of the digital economy and what Facebook, Google, and all the rest have done to newspapers. Word that further downsizing is coming at the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, the state's largest newspaper. There'll be jobs apparently lost across the board, from editorial to other departments, and perhaps in the larger media group that is headed by the publisher, the Democrat Gazette. Sad news, but we're all having to adjust to changing times. Doesn't mean we can't resist what's happening elsewhere, and we'll continue to do that. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.